And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure and journey on riding through the unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and today's guest I have been chatting with backstage for a little bit, getting to know her a little bit more. And I have to say, we've been having some really cool conversation, and you guys are in for a huge treat. And so I am going to jump right into it, and I am going to hand over the show to my amazing guest, the one, the only, experience extraordinaire, Professor Elizabeth Karp.
Thank you so much. Should I just give you a little bit of information about me and a little background?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I am a trauma therapist, a rape crisis counselor, a sex therapist, a brain spotting specialist. Also, after my near death experience, I took 3 years of energy medicine healing from Cindy Dale. But prior to that, and I love that you have that space stuff on there about secret government space stuff, because my father was NSA and he was killed. So I really always wonder how, he worked at Fort Meade. He did interesting things. We don't know what they were, but I really always wonder how that happened. And then what happened is my mother trafficked me to Florida, and I was then raped, enslaved, and tortured for 3 years by a pedophile. And my stepfather, who happened to be a cop, and my mother worked for the Justice Department. So I was really tortured for 3 years as a child. And then, but I kept my shit together. I don't know how I did it. Part of it is the ability to disassociate, right? Like, and that's part of what's wonderful about healing is you've had some really traumatic PTSD, C-PTSD shit, and all of us have. I mean, it's either we all have a story or we all have some type of abuse or fear, you know? And so if you can take yourself to that place, like with this Navy SEAL training, if you can take yourself to this place where you are able to hold your point, where you have focused attention on one point, you're able to, instead of being like they're punching you in the stomach, they're doing everything they can to get you out of this, because that's Navy SEAL guys fail, is the pull comp challenge. And if you can remain focused on one point, you're able to take the energy and move it to what not only keeps you alive, but helps you manifest what you want, what you need, what's the best thing for your healthiest you, or your highest you in this lifetime, right? And that happens as a result of something that I created called God spotting. And I did it for individuals. I took like brain spotting. And what this does is this helps to move the pain or the trauma or the abuse out of your body by helping you to identify it. Like if I hold this up for you right now, where are you feeling
I would say feeling it in my
it?
shoulder over here.
Yeah, in your heart, in your in actually on the other side, not in your heart, but you're in your heart. I'm feeling it like a little bit over here, which is interesting. But yeah, so what we would do then is we would take that heart energy, and we would take it back. Well, first we would take you up. We would take you to a place where you drop all of your stones and all of the pain and anything that holds you back from creating what you desire. We let that all fall to the bottom of the riverbed as you float, as you get clean, as you move into a higher space. You're able to kind of look back down and see your beautiful self as a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old, your perfect little state of brain, living in a state of wonder, in beauty, and love. And you're able to kind of go back in and help to heal that energetically simply by being aware of it. And so we do that not with just, not with just trauma. We do that with the ability to open up like special pathways or special portals. And this all happened after my near-death experience. I was a trauma therapist, like CBT. You listen, You listen and you ask the right questions. That's it. Um, but when I learned how to do brain spotting, all of my clients started to have mystical experiences. They started to say, "Oh my gosh, I had angels, and I met up with my guides, and this is the information that I got." And what did you get, Elizabeth? And like, you know, some people who are Christ consciousness oriented, I don't really use that word simply because it's a put off for some people, but if that works for you, Jesus will come in, right? And he'll usually come kind of right into your forehead right here. The crown chakra is where you feel the like a little shivering, okay, like a little bit of tingling when you start to think of this golden spiraling energy that enters through your crown chakra. And so there's just so many different ways to kind of ignite you and light you up and help you systematically guide you through conscious evolution. And so get over the traumas, because you don't want to like CBT, all you do is talk about them, and that just rewires them in your brain. But these other better, higher order, it's like passing self-actualization and just moving into embodiment by, I want to live in this lifetime in presence and being a source energy. I claim it, and it works. So I have, like over 260 testimonials. I have just a lot of people that I work with, including combat war veterans who have been involved with combat war, nurses, rape victims. Um, and what we do is we spend most of the time not talking about the trauma, but really moving, I don't know, moving into the upper room or the upper realm, where like you have a very deep connection to the Pleiadians. So you would most likely go into like a Pleiadian hospital, and they would stand around you, and they are big on lasers. Pleiadians do a lot of laser stuff. So they would stand around you and just give you, and you might be asleep. You might be doing this when you're asleep, but it's something that you will remember if you keep thinking about it. And usually it's all blue and it's a hospital, and you end up feeling better the next day. And right now I'm getting a lot of pink for you, and I don't know what pink is. Pink must be something to do with like divinely feminine energy. Um, and that's on, let's see, I think that's on your left side, right? Yeah. Left side was that divine feminine energy, and you should be feeling it a little bit, the tingliness that's moving up your crown chakra as you move. Do you feel it?
Yeah, I feel it over here.
Perfect. So, as a somatic therapist, as a trauma therapist, when I started to get the verifications of, oh yeah, I feel this here, or that's where it is right here. Well, the body keeps the score, and we don't have to wait around for you to talk it out. We don't have to wait around for you to. I prefer like people who've been through CBT and are like, I need this. I need the spiritual component. I need the part that helps me remember who I am, what I am, how I serve. And that's what this is. This kind of just helps you remember you're an expression of God. You came, or source energy, or creator energy, or whatever you want to call it. And you came into this planet in order to do a million different things. None of them are to suffer. And that now you're born at the perfect time to co create, even though it's super chaotic right now, co create the most beautiful and exquisite manifestation that is awaiting us, because starseeds like you didn't come in and experience this lifetime and all the heart for no reason. I mean, does that make sense? There's a lot of
It
starseeds who are, it hurts to live right now. It's painful.
it does make sense, and I've heard that too, and I've often wondered, because my mind seems to be wired a little bit differently. It's like I view everything third person viewpoint instead of being emotionally. And what I mean by that is if something traumatic happens to me, I'm just like, okay, and able to and be like, process it and everything, but I won't show emotion. But if I see something happen to somebody else, or watch a movie where, something happens, I'll show emotion. And it's like, it's strange to me that it's always like, why I cannot show emotion for myself easily, but I can effortlessly show emotion for others.
I would say it's a wise thing to work on because we know that each tear has a little chemical makeup with it, so that when you cry out anguish or grief, that like literally that chemical gets cried out of you with it. And so there's a reason why you are having these tearful moments. If a movie can do it with a dead dog, keep that shit up. Like, just keep crying, because that helps you to work out whatever is going on in your body. Put your hand on your heart and you say, I'm God, or I'm source through this experience. Like, anytime that you're getting like woken up a little bit, or not to put it that way, but anytime you're getting, you know, like angel wings from God, or like feathers from God, or the numbers 1111, like everybody gets the, like, all the synchronicities, you find a penny, pick it up. These are all like these beautiful synchronicities that happen to all of us while we're going through conscious evolution, while we're shifting into that move away from the 3D way of thought into that higher order way of being. And go ahead.
You know, I just had this interesting thought pop in my head because, like, you're on Eastern time where I'm on Central time, and talking about like angel numbers. So, like, when we post, like, hey, it's 333, make your wish. Well, it just dawned on me, wait, but Eastern time, it's 433.
Yeah,
So,
you're
does it
right.
not work for them?
I
Because
don't think it
it's
works
not the
that way.
333.
I don't think it works that way. I think anytime you put good energy into the world, so like you're thinking high thoughts and you're thinking about what can I do to make the world better, and oh look, that number just helps me be that better person. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna, like, we're not looking for 666, right? Like, we're looking for 1111. We'll take that one.
Right.
Like that's what I'm saying is, so when you're kind of look for good, you find it, and it can be uplifting. If you're if you want to be like, yeah, like I don't know, I wouldn't question it. I don't know enough about it to be able to answer that question, because I think time is a man-made or human-made construct, and so it's probably all the same time. We're all at the same time in different layers of existence, is my understanding. So I don't know, if I don't know about time.
Well, that, and I'm also curious because, like, we're talking about PTSD, and that's a fairly new thing that still has a little bit of stigma to it and everything. So a lot of people won't come forward about it because they may be in a position where they could lose their job by saying they have it. So how is this a best way to see somebody that's going through that, but to help them step beyond it and try to help them even if they can't go to someone professionally?
So I would find someone professionally, and you have the HIPAA law, so that counselor, if they're not a good fit, don't say anything until you feel like this is a good fit and I can trust this person. And but either way, they shouldn't be telling you any your business to anyone. Like, that's illegal. Okay.
Oh, no,
um,
no. I'm meaning,
but
like, if a guy says works for a company and is experiencing PTSD and goes to the company and says, "Hey, I have PTSD," they may say, "Oh, that's going to interfere with your work, so we may have to let you go." Not that the therapist is sharing their information.
Yeah. Well, that's like that would be a comp law. That would be workers' comp. I guess I'm trying to take this question and look at it from all angles. And I think the most relevant one would be that um, that if first of all, we would want that you never want to bring it into the earth. Like it's like which, like words, you never want to bring into the earth anything that doesn't serve you for your highest being. And so, you know, you want to be an optimist. You want to be looking for good because that's how you bring it into the world. If you're, so what I'm saying is like cops who have had who have or firemen who have PTSD. I've worked with them before. I've worked with particularly this great fireman he fought the fires in California with the huge where you fly over, and I mean he was a big deal firefighter, and I can talk about him because I'm not saying his name, and I'm not a trauma therapist any longer. I'm an author and a filmmaker and a person who created Godspotting and an expert witness. I'm an expert witness when it comes to rape and child sex abuse, so I can testify in trials. But on the other side of that, I'm also a minister. I like when my clients started to have these experiences that they couldn't explain, and everything is only ever good. So there's never any fear. We don't have any fear. If there's any fear, usually it has to do with one human being, just because we don't do this as much anymore, slowly gazing lovingly into your eyes because I don't know you, but I died. And to me, you're the most beautiful thing in the world. You're like all things like just a beautiful puppy. You're like, you're gorgeous. And that's because I see who you are, what you are, how you serve, right? And so I see everybody as really attractive for the most part. Not everybody. Believe me, there's some unattractive people, but and I just mean that from their sparkleness. So after that came in, and I was able to be, a trauma therapist doing brain spotting, I realized I was putting them in a mystical place that they could meet their angels and their guides, move up to this higher room or higher realm. Like for some people, it's a meadow or a field or flowers. For other people, it's waterfalls. For other people, it's just like hanging out with the consciousness energy. Jesus is like sitting on I don't know. He comes to people usually when he's about 16 years old. Don't ask me why, but that's which one works with me. You'll get a lot of information from like ISIS, and not ISIS, but not bad ISIS, but good ISIS, and I like the Eye of Ra and Egypt. If you spent any time in those areas, and then you created things that were here to unfold what's happening right now, which is conscious evolution, you'll go back to like your pyramid. You'll sit on top of your pyramid. You will like spin around in order to decide which direction you want to move in your future, so that like if you see the love of your life or someone you think that you love, and you want her to come closer to you, you just take your hand and you move like this beautiful kind of translucent bubble of her, and you bring it into your heart gently in. And you can do that with anything. And we want to bring in lots of money and lots just like that right now, like to ask for that, because I think that you had a hard go of it on this life, and I've had a really hard go of it on this life. And it's like I need to sell my book, I need to do these things, and I think we need to have an economy that changes for healers and for people like us who are doing this for, like, there's a whole economy in it that hasn't really been, I don't know, taken advantage of. because these things, work as well as, you can only take CBT so far, but after that, which is just cognitive behavior therapy, talking about things. But after that, you're going to need some more. I think of it as help. And I don't know why it's not a wonderful thing to go ahead and connect with your angels and your guides anyway. It makes life easier.
It
Like little,
does.
yeah, little things like you might think you spilled your coffee and that's going to make you leave a little bit later, or the dog has to go outside and that might make you leave a little bit later, but you're going to miss the car accident that two cars were ahead of you. Like if you just kind of move in, like my this is what Cindy Dale believes. She believes that all dogs come back in, um, to be like, dogs have soul contracts with their humans. Cats too, but I think cats are really aliens. Like I think cats are like, I'm not sure if they're on the same like unconditional loving area as a dog, because cats are so like, cats are cats.
Territorial.
Yeah, and they're ethereal. I think of cats as like aliens completely, and octopuses. Like that to me, those two things are beautiful examples of, whoa, they're cool. So anyway, I don't want to keep taking up time. Do you have any questions or anything that would be, useful?
Well, I think you brought up 2 points that I think a lot of people hear about in the news, but they don't know what signs to look for to identify if that's somebody in need. And that is, one is the rape victims, because that goes both genders and it's not talked about as much that way. But also the trafficking aspect, how to tell if you're walking by, if somebody sends you a signal, how do you know what that signal is unless somebody explains what that is? And so, if you have any insights into those,
Of what we
that
can
would be helpful.
do. Yeah. Well, honestly, I believe that the FBI, the NSA, CIA, they already know all of the men who are uh, pedophiles and rapists, because look, there's 64 billionaires who live on Palm Beach Island. They support the main dude who is a rapist and a pedophile. I mean, things that are just like horrific to say and to think, is what is in control of our country right now. And it breaks my heart because um, it hurts. Like for PTSD, like what you're talking about, there's a whole different kind of PTSD from vets, because I've worked with them, and child sex abuse victims or victims of rape. But there's certain things that are the same. Like we either go into like a freeze, or you were saying that you go into a almost like, what kind of state do you go into? What happens when you're afraid or you feel fear?
When I feel fear, I just take a moment and look at where that fear is coming from. And then if it's a fear that serves me, then I back off and step away from. But if I realize it's a fear from outside source, then I dismiss it and take whatever action I feel is necessary, because I realize that fear is preventing, not protecting.
Exactly. So fear, shame, blame. As a trauma therapist, those are like the three emotions I would kill your body, your vocabulary, in your life. Because fear, anytime I've ever made a decision in fear, it was always the wrong one. Always. Never the right one. And I think you'll get the same answer if you look at, like, if whenever you make a decision in fear. Um, so, I mean, I don't think fear is useful in any way. I think fear only creates more fear. So I never find it to have like, when I'm in my sessions with people, we're at such a trusting place. And that was the only thing I was talking about, is fear, this is kind of looping back to that, is that the only time that you can have a little bit of fear is when we're moving to that space of complete trust and calm and a loving connection with a stranger who I can see God in you because you're sparkly and it's real. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not faking anything. I can see everybody like that. So I can work with everybody. And the main thing is to help you get to the space where you're working with your own guides and your own, and I know you already do this, but like just to weave it, like it helps to kind of weave it so you never have any second thoughts and you go with what you feel, right? Because it's always going to be for your highest good. So what I understand is like what's done in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I understand the same thing is true of like the upper room. What's done in the upper room stays. So what's created in the upper room. So if you're in a high place where you are feeling consciously, let me just give us a little exercise for this, and this will kind of help you do it. So we're going to just take a gold spiraling light and a nice deep breath, and this gold spiraling light, and it's going to come right down through your crown chakra, and it's going to spiral all the way down your spine, all the way through each area of your vertebral column, all the way down through your feet, and deeply for about a foot beneath your feet. This golden spiraling energy is going to go either next to your favorite tree or the tree that's closest to you. And I want the golden spiraling energy to go ahead and go through the roots of the tree and through the thick parts of the tree that lead to the bark. And I want you to spiral the golden energy all the way up the bark and out of the branches, through the leaves that touch your head, and leave you with the golden crown sparkle and the spiraling energy that you can go ahead and keep at home with your hand on your heart and say, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I was born at the perfect time to live a life that is love and joy and money, manifestation, good stuff, right?
All right.
Thing, you know, and I've seen lots of people, like I have a nurse person who I work with, and anything she wants, she will manifest. It's amazing. And then I've had some people before who, like, believe it or not, Trump man hated women, a lot of misogyny, but just working together, he loves everybody. He wakes up in the morning and he's like, who's looking back at me? I'm an expression of God. I better act like one. Right? Or
Right.
express as one. He is kind of like, you know, it's interesting. But so that, do you have any questions, or can you see how I kind of work and how I I'm like a great person after CBT, and you just want to get things out of your body, move into through self-actualization and into embodiment, a source. And that's what I like to do. I mean, that's what I was called to do. That's what they said, go do. So,
Well, one question I have for you is, did a lot of this work happen before your near death experience and then it after that transformed to what it is now, or was there a catalyst that happened that
okay.
led to the near death that brought it to
So
play?
this is a killer part of this story. So we know my mother gave me to a pedophile. His name is Paul Belt. I never get a cease and desist in Catonsville, Maryland, because what I'm saying is the truth, and I have hundreds of witnesses and an open SVU case because I never stopped talking about it. And Maryland doesn't have a statute of limitations. Florida is a kind of like a haven for pedophiles and rapists. So they wouldn't help me in any way, even though I begged them. I begged like 40 sheriffs in Florida to help, you know, help me get a case together against this man. But it took Mo Greenberg. I was writing about it on LinkedIn. So I was 50. This was 36 years after the crimes had happened. And I was 50 years old, and I I had actually had to have a total jaw reconstruction, and that's when I died. It was a 6-hour surgery because he had damaged my jaw joints and had just destroyed this nerve called the trigeminal neuralgia nerve. So it was extremely painful. Like I was either going to die or I had to get the surgery. And so that's when I died during the surgery. I was like, I was going in that direction no matter what for a little while. And so what happened is during that time, my mouth was wired shut, and I started to write on LinkedIn. This is way before Me Too. This is 2 years before Me Too, about what it was like being a child rape victim and a child sex slave, and how horrific it was. And Mo Greenberg, my hero of my book, which is called Making Dark Visible, um, is a cop. He's an SVU cop from Baltimore, Maryland. He flew me up there and he opened up a case on my behalf so that I could try to get justice. But what's interesting is at the same time, I was going through, so I had to go back and relive the traumas of childhood, which was really hard to do. And I couldn't figure out how to write them. I had to tell somebody. That's why storytelling and your podcast is so brilliant, because people need to talk about things in order to help them feel better, and then help them move to the next level of where do you go, right? Because there's other things to do with healing. And so I was very traumatized. I was enslaved, raped, and tortured for 3 years every day. And my mother knew, my stepfather knew, he was a cop, and no one was going to help me. My sister knew, like, no one was going to help me. And so I just endured this. But it took me 36 years to write about it on LinkedIn while my mouth was wired shut and I couldn't talk, which is the worst thing that you could do for a child rape victim, because he raped me in my mouth a lot. And that's really that's where your body scored. That kept a lot of the score. And so what happened is my ex-husband read what I had written, and he filed for divorce from me and made me and my oldest daughter homeless for 6 months. My mother gave a gun to my child rapist to take me out. Literally, I'm not kidding, to get rid of me, because I was starting to talk, and they knew, I was trafficked in 2 states. They knew what they did to me for 3 years was truly a crime and evil and torture and human trafficking and, all of these things. And my mother Mo Greenberg wants to hold my mother responsible too. But nobody, wants to get it like an 80-year-old and put them in jail. But I'm all for it. I'm all for the consequences of both my mother and the man that raped and tortured me and enslaved me for 3 years. Because I've had to live with so much pain, and I've had to live with so much. So anyway, I died during that NDE. At the same time, so the NDE was a little bit before, but so I started to get interested in conscious evolution, shifting. I listened to a lot of Paul Selig. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He does a lot of channeling for Melchizedek. And I started to just get, listening to angels, listening to guides, like getting more psychic, getting clairaudient, getting clairvoyant, getting cognizant. And that's really what happens with my clients, is they get the same way. We just I'm like a little portal to help them do that on their own. So I didn't really believe in God before this, like, much. I had angels when I was a little girl. Like, after my father died, I had angels that came up to the roof of my ceiling. I think, angels when I was vaginally raped for the first time. I disassociated completely head from my body, and I could see like the little tan lines on my body and just it being harmed and tortured, but my head was not staying on that body. So I think there might have been some angel energy there because it didn't, I was far away from what was happening to me and couldn't feel the pain. So, I didn't necessarily believe in God, but then the near death experience happens and you don't really have any choice. And then I went back to work as a trauma therapist, and everybody's having mystical experiences. So I was like, this is beautiful. When is, but it's really hard. It's, I made up my own job because I'm a God spotting specialist, and and people don't know what that is, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's beautiful how you turned it into such a gift for humanity. But, and I don't mean but like to mean going to a different space, but I'm more of, if people are in that position, what is some advice you can give them to survive the day to day? How did you manage for 3 years to survive, and then how did you break
Don't
free?
don't do it for 3 years. Tell somebody, tell somebody you trust, tell your best friend, tell somebody who's got some balls, like not a guy, but like somebody who's got some balls of like, we know this is wrong, we'll take care of you, I'll hold your hand each step of the way. It's lovely if you have support, but frequently what happens, like 80% of the time when girls, they are not believed by the mothers. So, and the numbers that I'm working with are from Tim Tebow's foundation. So it's 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys. Um, and part of that has changed a little bit with the boys because they've gotten rid of the Boy Scout stuff. So that was a big number that was kind of reduced with that. So we don't really know the number with the boys because boys don't talk about it. That's the truth. Like you got to be like usually suicidal or in a place where you just can't take it anymore, because men and boys don't talk about these crimes against their bodies, and that's debilitating. That's really just not a great way to live. And then with girls and women, 1 in 3, I would suggest that you tell somebody first who believes you and who is going to help you navigate the process. If you don't have anybody, call RAINN, RAINN. I used to call them all the time because I didn't have anybody. My mother tried to kill me and gave me to a pedophile. Not a good mother, right? Not a good soul contract with that woman. And I'm forever like what I had to do by suing, by getting an SVU case open and suing the man. That's another thing that you can do is you can get a lawyer right now. If there's a statute of limitations, it depends on where it happened. It depends on how long it happened. Like my cop was very interested in me because it was 3 years, and that's torture, and I should be dead. So I would suggest that you call your police where it happened. At least you have it documented. Cops don't care. Like in Florida, I told 40 police, 40 sheriff, 40, I counted them, that I was a rape victim and that I had married a Trump man who also thought he owned my body. So when I would take Ambien at night to go to sleep because of the child rapes, he would take advantage of my body at night. So not only am I Virginia Giuffre, with the Epstein thing, I'm Giselle Pellico. I truly am, and also I'm educated. I'm a therapist, a sex therapist. You know what I mean? Like I am truly an expert in the area of rape. So I would say that if it's happening, it can't happen for 3 years. It needs to be ended, and you need to do it immediately. And you figure out where you're safe, and you find a safe person, and you call the police. You might get a terrible answer or a terrible response, but at least you've documented something. Okay. And that's how you get them. I would go on LinkedIn, honestly, track them down. Most of the men who cause us harm, honestly, according to Tim Tebow, are our fathers. Most of the men who rape us as children are our fathers. If it's not them, it's someone we know. So it's a very, very American incestual rape culture that goes really thick. And that's why the patriarchy, like all those old 80-year-old men, they want to hold on to these things that are history, but they didn't work. It doesn't work to want to be the person who has to pay all the bills. It doesn't work to have to be the ultimate decider of where you do, or the authority, or owning other people. None of that is really pleasurable unless you're kind of a sadist, right? So most people don't want that job anyway. Most guys like your age, or anybody under the age of like 45, they don't, they see things differently. And even though there are, I mean, and what do you think I'm wrong about this? I just think there's a lot of men that are hurting, that do violence and do other things to try to make themselves feel better. But really, if they could do a little brain spotting and had like a little bit of just, CBT, they're going to feel better. A group
No,
too. Groups
I
are good.
yeah, I definitely feel the society has taught men that this doesn't happen to you. This is only happens to women. And so they, as much as women feel they won't be believed, I feel like it's much worse for the guys that go through it, because even the women who do it, in those situations are like, you really think they're going to believe I did this to you? And it's true. It's
That's
like,
why it's really important that we believe everybody. Like the numbers are so small, like between 4 to 6% of people lie about those crimes. 92%, 94% are telling the truth. That's a huge number. Most people
yeah,
wouldn't. I tell you what. What would be beneficial for me to make up being raped, tortured, and enslaved for 3 years, and having to undergo a total jaw reconstruction and trigeminal neuralgia, and cry every day for 36 years, not sleep well at night, have scars that no one can see. It's bad for girls and it's bad for boys both. And it's something that, as an American culture, so this is what we can do. This is why this helps. It's so higher, right? Like, we want a world where we don't rape and torture and abuse our children
yeah,
or each other, right? Um, it's desire, then thoughts, then words. That's why, like, on TikTok, when they can't, you have to use the word grape or schmucks. That literally does something that twists your brain in a way that isn't normal, because what you're doing is you're creating desire, thoughts, words. The words have meaning. The words create actions, and then culture, and then laws. And that's how you change everything in the world. But when they take away your words, you know
right.
so yeah. But you're right,
And
like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, there's an important distinction too between, if it started out consensual and then at the end you're like, hey, I wish I hadn't done this. That doesn't, by definition, qualify as being taken advantage of. You made a poor choice. So you can't cry wolf about that and accuse someone wrongly of that. But if
it,
somebody
it
does,
doesn't happen.
you say
It does
no and they
not.
keep going, then yes, that qualifies. And so I think that's
Yeah.
a distinction that needs to be made too, is because we live in a society to where everything that we thought was normal common sense seems to have gone out the window. and you can say and do whatever you want, and there's no consequences, and there are consequences. And so we have to be careful of what we do and how we talk, because a false accusation is not just a, oh, my bad, move on, and everything is okay. There is repercussions that follows that.
Oh, absolutely. But that's not really, that doesn't happen a lot. I mean, less than
Oh,
4%. So you are
yeah.
talking 96% of the time. And so this is really important too. There are different gray areas. There are different areas, but we do know that children can ever consent. So
Oh, yeah.
children, that's where you stop, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
if
not
you're
talking about kids.
consenting,
I'm
if
talking
you're,
adults. Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole different, if there's alcohol involved, if there's like that for me, I don't, I work with victims and I give coping skills and things like that, but I don't work with the courts in that way. Um, but what I would say is that children, they can never consent, and so that in that situation, you need to always believe the child.
Oh, yeah.
And the he said, she said, I don't know, that has a whole different level of like morality to it that isn't what I worry about the most. I worry about our children. All children are our children. I worry about them never suffering, never being harmed, and only being cared for by
Yeah.
us,
I mean, admittedly, it scares me and it makes me feel sick to my stomach that we live in a world where we have to remind people that, yeah, children are children. They're not property, and they're not tools to be used for anything, and that, yeah, they don't consent. It's like that. To me, it's like that's a given. They're not, that never should be a question, that's ever asked of them. Do you consent to this? Because it's a child. They don't understand what's being asked. And
Mm-mm.
it, even if they do understand, depending on who the person is they know, like, you're saying, when it's somebody we know. Well, what's the one thing society teaches us? To respect your elders and listen to the grown-ups. So if the grown-up is telling you this,
No,
hey,
that's
so that's,
patriarchy. Just because
well,
patriarchy
no,
worked
but
before, like you don't want to do that. I like most
yeah,
people who have kids now are like, you don't hug somebody, don't hug them. If you don't want to, if that man makes you feel creepy, pay attention to that feeling inside of
yeah,
you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, there's a lot of
that's where I
different
was
ways.
going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, that's the old way, but now it's a world where we actually don't even really have to somewhat even talk about some of these things, because the kids already know. It's like they have a somewhat of a knowing of, hey, this is wrong. This shouldn't, this isn't right. And will stand up for themselves, but we need to give them support to
That's
keep.
rare. Usually what happens is they pick the loneliest kid. They pick the kid whose father's not in the picture. They pick the
Right.
kid whose mother is working two jobs. They pick that kid. Like that's
Right.
what
That's what
happened
I mean. Yeah,
in
we need to support them and
yeah.
create a stronger community bond with the kids, that
Yeah.
nobody is ever alone.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with, well, just, yeah, I agree with you. But like what I would like to do, honestly, is so I live in West Palm Beach. And this is where at Trumpstein, they did all of their shopping for the girls in West Palm Beach. They would go to, like travel trailers or, trailer parks, like where I went. I grew up in a trailer park when my mother took me to Florida and trafficked me in two states. Um, you know, I my book is really good. It's called Making Darkness Visible. So you want to make sure that, like, because it's got healing things in it. But I would think that what Florida should do, because we have 64 billionaires that live on Palm Beach Island, and that's during the seasons. You know what I mean? That those are oligarchs. Those are all the oligarchs who are in charge of our country right now. If we just, kind of taxed them and help them create centers, and we should have centers like veterans do, but better. Like, not that they shouldn't have good, they should have good services too, but like they should take some of their money from Palm Beach and open up a center in West Palm Beach where they shop there, where the prey shop for their prey. And that is like, that's what my goal is right now. So, and hopefully, hopefully that might happen.
Well, I'm hoping as the world is waking up and everything is having light shined on it to where, I mean, look at like the movie Sound of Freedom. It's like it rang a bell, and ever since that movie's come out, child trafficking is like almost daily in the news. It's being talked about. It's
Yeah.
so, I feel like we're turning a corner in our society and in our world of those people that are doing this are going to find it harder and harder to live, which is exactly the point. They shouldn't
They
be
should be in jail.
living that way. And
Yeah.
so,
They just have a lot of money. That's what's kept them out of jail. But just,
right.
that's not okay. You know, if you do bad things to children and women, you need to pay for it,
Yeah, and
especially
I
in this
mean,
lifetime.
yeah, and I even read somewhere, and I feel like this is the truth, is even the worst criminals that have committed the worst crimes that are in prison, when they hear that somebody did something to a child,
They take
they
care of it.
will go and make their life hell and
I
are
love
like,
that.
you crossed the line. And it's like,
I
how
love
is
that.
it?
I wish
Yeah,
everybody felt that way.
yeah, it's like our biggest criminal element that is like the most heartless, soulless people are like the biggest hearts when it comes to you messed with a kid,
You know
we're gonna
why?
make you
Because
pay.
there's
It's
there's
like,
so many who are put in jail because of what has happened to them in childhood. I mean, child sex abuse is a soul crime. It hits you at the soul, body, mind, and soul. And then, if you're poor, or you can't, or you're struggling, and or your education, whatever, and these bad things happen to you, it's 1,000 times harder to even, I don't know, to move forward. I think it depends. I think it depends on the person, but
yeah.
I have one client who was raped regularly by an older uh, half brother. And, I don't know if he's ever going to be okay from that. We're just friends now. We don't work together anymore because, he needs a little bit different stuff than what I do. But he, his soul, it's a soul crime. It's a soul crime. And so, I can see that, you know, but the best way to heal it is to do exactly this. Find out where you're keeping it in your body, and then let it blow away. Or let the water, think of yourself like God. I am in God. I am of God. I am as God. Think of God as water. I am in water. I am of water. I am as water. And then it kind of, just those things, like certain attunements. If you put your hand on your heart, I am God through my body, or I am source through my body. Like there's like that's what's in my book, which is really important. Is it's making darkness visible, healing rape and child sex abuse culture. I haven't figured that part out yet, but it gives, like, in each chapter, I have a somatic tool, a tool based in neuroscience, and a spirit. like that is like this, right? Like I have spiritual tools that will, like, what do you do with a Merkaba? Do you want me to show you what you do with a Merkaba? Do you have time to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So this is a Merkaba. Let me get a prettier one. Um, so this is like the Jewish star, okay? It is a key and a lock for your pineal gland. All you have to do is um, is take this beautiful shape and remember what it looks like, okay? So just see what it looks like. And then you can close your eyes. And when you're ready, just start spinning it in between your third eye when you're ready. And if your eyes are closed, are you spinning it now? Okay, so keep it spinning and you're spinning it clockwise like everyone does. I want you to go ahead and light it up now. Make it bright yellow and gold with golden streaks behind it as it starts to go faster and faster and faster. And then I want you to take that beautiful Merkaba and I want you to turn it purple, the color of love. And I want you to allow that purple Merkaba to spin all the way outside of your skull, all the way up through your crown chakra, back down and place itself in the lock and the key, in the lock position. Keep spinning it. I want you to turn it red now. Red is a color for you. It means something for you that's beautiful and strong and earthy. It helps keep you on this planet. So we're going to turn this red just for a little while. And then when it's done, I'm going to go ahead and turn the whole thing a beautiful turquoise blue, like the water, like you are of the water, you are as water, you are in the water. You are of God, you are as God, you are in God. Keep spinning it and go ahead and turn it around and spin it in the other direction and turn the whole thing silver. And then allow your beautiful fingers to touch it, tip it, and go ahead and spin it in the other direction and turn the whole thing gold as you allow your lock and your key to be open for your third eye and your pineal gland. As you sleep better tonight, as you know who you are and what you are in truth and how you are in truth. You are the divine, manifested field and form. So be it. God is here.
That was interesting because at one point, when you were saying like turning it, it's like my face was like starting to heat up, and then when we went to the blue, it's like, okay, now we're gonna cool off, and it was like, ah, that
Oh,
feels better.
so that's so cool. So you really did feel it. That's very interesting. You're the first person who's ever told me that. Like usually people tell me they get tingles, but you with the red came in and red never comes in. So red is a very important color for you right now. It has something to do with dragon energy. It has to do with like Chinese New Year. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but it's dragon energy. And dragon energy is always clean. So when there's chaos, you'll get dragon energy that comes in to clean up any of the mess of old problems that you've had, of old trauma, of old pain. And that's why that red came in. And I didn't know what to do with it. I think if we worked together more, I would have figured out a way to get that, because there was definitely a dragon there. And
Oh yeah.
I don't, did you see anything?
Oh, I could see the colors and I could see the sparks coming off of the Merkaba doing its thing, and then yeah, I could see when we like were shifting it and kind of like the birthing of the energy. It was like, yeah, I could see like the alchemy of the dragons of each element merging their energies into a single point, and then one, like we would say, avatar dragon rose up and was like,
So you
this
were working
is,
with dragons here?
Yeah.
And then I'm brought up Red Dragon. That's pretty wild. That's synchronicity. That's our guides. So that's wild. So you literally, but you also did a sacral, you did a not a sacral cleanse, but you did a whole chakra cleanse with your dragon. It sounds like you did a whole, I don't know. It's just what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I do my best to keep my chakras open and running to what's the proper speed for me, because I've had them too fast and then I'm like, energy just goes out of whack. And I have a friend who's a chiropractor that does all this kind of work, and he's like, oh yeah, we need to tone this one down and raise this one up, and now they're all in the same. And it's like, I feel so much better when they're all in the same speed and alignment, but I can definitely tell when one is slowing down or speeding up, and it's like, hey, hold up, stay in balance.
Interesting. Very beautiful. So you know how to do your own energy healing. That's beautiful. And the key is you know how to identify it if it's not serving you, and let it go, which is
Yeah.
hard to do. Like, I'm 59, I can do all this stuff. I have trigeminal neuralgia, like had total jaw reconstruction, have broken neck in 3 places. The only reason why I feel better is because I do believe in God, and I had a near-death experience. I think if I didn't, I would just be really exhausted and not feeling good all the time. You know what I mean? Like, just in pain.
Oh
Because
yeah.
there's so much harm of childhood, of being raped and tortured in childhood. And then again, when I get married, and then, we have this head guy who's like a rapist and a pedophile in chief. And that's really hard on most of us because it's a trigger. So, like, I kind of I move around that a lot, because that's why when I died, I came back in to do that. So I almost always come back to that. I'm sorry. I wanted to keep you in your beautiful Merkaba place, actually, because that is a better place for you to be. So, and I love that your Merkaba opened up whatever you needed to see during that time. That's really beautiful.
And when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I would wear a Merkaba around my neck all the time on a necklace.
So this was you, and that's Melchizedek, and that's
Hmm.
like a certain kind of angel, I think, right? Like, is it Merkaba like a certain angel, dude? Or
Melchizedek, I believe, was one of the arcs, like Michael, Uriel, Periel, all of them.
and teacher to teachers, they're always like
Yes.
teachers. Yeah, so cool.
So I'm kind of curious too, a little bit with, you know, a lot of people had different type of near death experiences and like different memories of different aspects of it. So my question to you is around yours is, do you feel like yours was like a catalyst point that was like, okay, this is the 0 point for the new you. We're starting you over and going
I
forward.
I burned the old life down, literally. Like, I was homeless for a little while because my ex-husband was so cruel. And then I got divorced, and then my mother tried to kill me. And then all my friends left me. Like, I only had 3 friends to begin with because I'm, kind of selective, but they all left me. And they were all from the time of, like, when I knew when I was being abused. 2 of them I both knew when I was being abused in childhood. So I knew them that long. But once I got involved with the cops, everybody was very strange. And even my own mother was like, I'm not going to jail, like anything, like afraid. They were afraid for what they had done to me. They
Right.
really broke the law, and they committed horrific crimes for 3 years on a little girl's body. And so, you know, that that trauma, I mean, not everybody has that degree of trauma, right? But we all have a story. We all have something that has happened to us, and it doesn't necessarily have to be child sex abuse or rape or anything like that. It can just be like really bad parents, really like a shitty father or a shitty mother, and just really like just chopping up when you need to be loved and accepted for who and what you are. Most parents, this is the way I really believe right now, that if you raise your children in a way that lets them know that they are so deeply loved, and that they might go through ups and downs, and they might not always look pretty compared to what you want or what you might have wanted for them, but that I don't know, that you really rise by just that. It has something to do with like the divine feminine rising right now. It has something to do with being half your mother, half your father, and all source energy, and just allowing that energy to kind of guide you and be responsible for it. Does that make sense?
It does. It's the time of the equalizing, and those that can, I feel like that can handle both the sacred masculine and sacred feminine will rise and, become their true nature and their true selves. Where those that are like, hey, I'm only going to embrace the divine feminine, or I'm only going to embrace the sacred masculine, they're going to fall to the wayside and be like, either disappeared, or they'll go somewhere else, or they just won't be
No
interacting with the
duality.
same. Yeah.
Duality is not going to work anymore, because we're all one. We're all expressions of the creator. We're all wrapped in skin, and we came for these really interesting experiences, even if they feel shitty sometimes, and it's really hard right now to incarnate. um, and what we're doing to Gaia, and like the food that we eat, and it's like all consumptive now, the corruption that has impacted us. So anything that you can do, even if it's just kind of like smiling at people and lifting energy, when you're responsible for that higher energy, people come with you, and you're like a light. You have a show and an opportunity and a network to be able to grow that and just create that. And that's like telepathy, which is happening for all of us anyway. um I don't know, it's just I did not believe in God, I think, for a long time, and then I had my near death experience, and I couldn't not believe in God, because I was like, shit, I guess I have to go back and take care of my kids. And okay, no problem. I was laughing about writing a book. I'm like, no problem. I can write a book about child sex abuse. No problem. I can do that. And I'll end this. This is something we can check off the list. And in my family, like literally in my family, I burned it to the ground. And I did, forever. And like, there will never be incest. There will never be any other crimes against children in my family. You know what I mean? Because I took it apart so much that I don't have a mother anymore. I don't have a sister. I don't have those old friends. They blamed the victim, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Um, when yeah, it happens a lot more than what you would think. But and that makes it hard. That's where you need rain, and you need groups. There's groups like I'm ready to start in West Palm Beach groups to for survivors, because there's so many of them, and just sharing helps you feel better, you
And
know.
an interesting factor, that I'll bring up, because I'm kind of surprised, it just dawned on me all this time we haven't talked about, we talked about family or somebody, but it also was, what, well, I say was, is probably still in effect, rampant in the church and religion. And the church's answer, they would always be like, oh, well, we punished him by, removing him from where he was. And so you
Mhm.
think, oh, justice has been done, where all they did was they put him somewhere else. And so
Yeah.
it's like, that's not a crime. That's just, he got caught. And so now you're moving him to another
It made,
space that doesn't know. And
I worked as an expert witness for a girl who was molested digitally by a nun during PE. She would molest her during PE in front of people. And I worked with the archdiocese on that case, and and they barely paid her, like they didn't pay her much of anything, and that had ruined her life. That, like, in every way, like, how do you go to school when you've been embarrassed in front of everybody in school, and how do you, like, you know what I mean, like, it's
right.
just these things. I think the church is so filthy, honestly. I think what they should do is close it up and make all that gold, give it to all the countries that they colonized and raped and harmed women and children and murdered, genocided men. I think that they should take all that gold and all that money from the Vatican and give it to all the people that they raped. I mean, that's what I feel like. That's justice for me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that's going to happen to you.
Yeah. No. And part of me also feels like even if it did, you have those people who are like, well, the world's been kicking me since I was down, and since they're now giving money for this, for, you just have to say it happened, they're going to rise up and say, hey, it happened to me too, even though it didn't. And it's like, it taints the reparation. And
Not
because
a lot. Again,
people,
you got to believe you got to believe the victim. It does. Usually, what happens is a person's gotten away with transferred so many times he's raped hundreds of kids. I mean, that's the more likely, instead of being like believe me, I talked to the cops, the sheriff's office 40 times. I reported what was happening with my husband. And 40 times they either put me in handcuffs, laughed at me, took me to a mental institution, because I said also that I had a near death experience and I was clairvoyant, clairaudient, I wouldn't, any minor thing, you know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't have gotten me hospitalized, but my ex-husband had deep connections, and they just threw me, they wanted me to shut the fuck up. So believe me, my experience with talking has been, they don't want you to talk. And that has been part of the problem, is by saying, oh, well, if you say this, you're going to ruin his life. I was a sex therapist in Ponte Vedra Beach County. Sheriff Hardwick said to 3 girls who were raped by 3 different lacrosse players, you'll ruin his life. All 3 of those girls had to leave that county. They had to leave the county. They couldn't live in St. Johns County anymore because it had grown too much. Everybody knew what happened, and they protected the lacrosse players. And that's been the situation in every situation that I worked in a sex therapy case that involved any type of child sex abuse.
yeah,
The cops are useless. They've been useless unless you go to a place like Maryland that has no statute of limitations, and it had some funding to, I mean, it's a whole different vibe. Florida really is a haven for pedophiles and rapists.
and I feel like, I kind of agree that we live in a society to where if you are famous or you're on the verge of becoming famous, you have that ability and you're like a rising star, that they bend the rules for that person so that they can achieve their deal and don't really care about the rest of the people. And I feel like I personally want to say that I'm hopeful that that system is changing to where we're starting to see more of the like athletes being held accountable for their actions. May not be still to the same degree as the normal person, but it is a shift. And so there is hope that, it'll keep going and will bring an end to it. But yeah, I agree. We have to stop saying to someone, oh, because you're in this position in your work, we can't touch you. It's like nobody should be untouchable except the
Mhm.
kids. The kids are untouchable.
Exactly. I'm like, if you're an adult, do anything you want. I could care less. But don't hurt dogs or animals, farm animals or children. That's
Right.
my only. That's what I learned as a sex therapist. Except that I did work with a lot of Navy guys who had addictions to porn, and they also flew the drones. So that was really weird. That was because I worked in Jacksonville, so that was a lot of it's the fathers. Remember, it's men that we know. The majority of the time, it's our daddies, it's our fathers, and they're the ones that consume the most C-SPAM, the porn, child sex abuse materials. They're the ones that trade in this. It's our fathers. I mean, not my father. My father was a good man who like loved me unconditionally and always took good care of me and protected me. I think he prepared me to be a strong and like indomitable person because he gave me 8 years of his unconditional love that made me know who I was, like he would tell me things like, you are the stardust and you are made of sunshine and you are like, he would tell me beautiful things about myself and my green eyes, because I have green eyes, they're very rare. And he would say, you're like from another planet. And you know what I mean? Like he was NSA. He did cool shit. I don't know exactly what he did, but he did cool shit and he knew cool things. And my mother forgot I existed and gave me to a pedophile. Just started drinking and she just didn't care. So I I really had a hard time with that. Like a mother wounds. That's a big part of my book too, is the because my mom's the one who gave me to them. So, I really don't have any parents. Um, so yeah.
Mhm. So my last question for you, because we are getting close to time, is it seems like a strange question to some people, but to me, it kind of goes along with what we're talking about in a certain way, in a certain light. But with everything you've gone through, everything that you've experienced to date, what do you think are some of the positives that have come from it?
Good question. The first thing is, after I died and I came back in, they showed me that we all take turns playing the bad guy. So that I had lifetimes where I would beat up my wife, or I would be a drunk, or I would be abusive, or you know what I mean? Like I could see those little mini snippets of that, we're not all good. And because I must have had that in my head that, well, only good is good, right? Not, but we all take turns being the bad guy. And so I think that's really important for judgment, because there is no evil man. And that's another thing that I learned. The second thing I learned was that the only sin is to deny someone's divinity or deny your own divinity. Like we are all expressions. I don't care how you want to think about it, but we're all expressions of creator source energy, you know? And if you're a high expression, you are doing good in the world. And if you are a lower expression, you are causing harm right now, usually to women and children, because that's what happens in war. War just hurts the women and children and poor people, you know what I mean? Because they take money for the war. You know, just this whole thing right now. What I've learned is that it is a marathon and not a short race, and that even if I have a book and a film and a documentary, and that the world is so busy, I might not be able to have people see it or hear it as much. So I'm very grateful to you for helping me make darkness visible, and I have all of that information in there. And also the last thing I would say is that um to recognize God in self and others. Just start kind of seeing, ooh, there's a sparkle there. There's sparkles. I don't know. Just to feel it. And you in particular, you have really good probably ability to see arc fields, and just because you'll be I don't know, that just gives you an elevated way of being, another tool to use. So, but thank you so much. I think that's it. Never deny the divinity in self or another. That's really the only sin. And we're all divine. We're all divine light beings.
Yes, I agree, and thank you for that. And so, if people wanted to check out your book, is your book published yet?
It's not published yet.
Okay.
I'm editing. I need a publisher, and I also need $8,000 for an EP for my documentary. So if anybody is interested in helping me get this, it's really, the book is a healing from rape and child sex abuse and C-PTSD, and it gives you tools to heal. So it's not like the body keeps the score, where it's just like, yeah, the body keeps the score. It says, and these are the 6 things that you're going to do if you want to feel better, you don't want to hurt, and we want to learn from this and not feel this way ever again, because it doesn't serve us, right? So we move on. um, and so I would say that is really the most important thing, is to see the divinity in then you lose everything that's negative, falls away when you know that there's a divine being having a human experience in front of you, who might be having a really shitty day or fuck something up, or isn't the best, is the highest energy. You can lift that energy by being the lighthouse or the beacon of good that you are, because you know who you are, what you are, and how you serve.
And I just had a thought that popped in my head, and I'm curious your thought on it. Is, being from the point of view of the therapist and, experiencer, how do you keep from getting stuck in the trauma and the story?
Oh, well, I did a ton of work. I did a shit ton of work. I tried every kind of modality for mental health that you could try, literally. If it's out there, I did it. Because I'm the kind of person that if I read a book or I go to an experience, I'm going to remember it and share it with you, right? If it works, that's just who I am as like a teacher. But but I, oops, I dropped. Tell me what the question was really quick.
It was, how do you keep from getting stuck in the story and trauma?
That's interesting. So that's exactly what happens, is you will get like a tiny flashback. And that's how you can tell when you're talking to people who have trauma, if they drop for a moment, and they just like, they might get swallowed by the history of what happened without even putting it all together, right? Um, and then you just come kind of back into it. I'm super compassionate, and I kind of like, it brings me great joy when somebody goes into a trance and then they come out and they're like, I feel like a 7-year-old, and I saw Jesus and I went skipping through this waterfall, and like, you know what I mean? Like, that lifts the world. That makes the world a better place in presence and being. And so the more I do it, the more healing it is. And then people can share that. Like, I think energy healers and people who are folks who are who haven't found an economy yet to like mental health professionals, they all want a way to bring a spiritual tool into it. That's what brain spotting and God spotting is. But I say healers use this, energy healers, anybody. It's like a tool. And I'm going to put a class together so that, because like the things that I gave you, anytime you're feeling a little anxious or a little tripped up, put that cube back in your head and spin it a little bit and remember, oh my gosh, I am God. You know, or I'm a beautiful expression of God, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you. And the only thing left is I do have a message for you, and that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. It's
Well,
seen, felt, and heard.
yes. Well, thank you. It takes earth angels to do this stuff, right? Like, and we signed up for it, so it better happen during my lifetime. That's all. I've got a job to do, and I came back in, and it's like hard when you tell people, like, when I'm applying for jobs. Because I sold my house to write the book and to do the documentary, and so I need a job. And so they don't understand. They don't know what to do with, well, yeah, I had a near death experience and this, it doesn't come off well. So,
Oh,
I'm trying to like figure out, well, what do I do again? Because I don't want to only do like CBT. That's so boring and anything done. So hopefully we'll get some more clients coming my way.
yes, and more opportunities arise. So,
Yes, and I'm so grateful and honored to see you, dear soul cousin. I know who you are, what you are, and how you serve. And thank you for your delightful energy that you brought with you today.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you to everyone who was watching and
I'm
participating in the
Elizabeth
forum.
Karp. I forgot to say that, elizabethkarp.com. And then I'm also on LinkedIn and TikTok and Facebook under Elizabeth Karp, or the United States of Consciousness. Sorry, I wanted to tell you that because I do want to sell my book.
Yes. Well, I was going to say is you can find, the links to find you that you provided are in the description. So if anytime you're watching this and you want to connect with her, it is in the description. So, feel free to message her and get some insights. And thank you to everybody. And make it a wonderful day. And I'm a little bit off my game because I don't do shows on a Monday afternoon, and so I'm used to like have a great night, and it's not the night, and it's the beginning of the week, and so I'm like, yeah, the verbiage is like, wait,
I might
I'm
have
not used to
tried.
this time frame.
Yeah, but I put you in a little tiny trance. So just let that energy be fun, be filled with wonder. You know what I mean? The
Oh
little
yeah.
trance will hang on. So, you'll get a good night's sleep tonight, and then new thoughts come in the morning, and we'll do a beautiful purple bubble of protection all around you. That only good things come in and bad things bounce off. Okay?
I like that. And it's funny you say, have fun with it, because I did a show on Friday and we were talking, and she mentioned, like being in the rural areas, and I was like, oh, like Future Farmers of America, and they go, yeah. And so we started and I started, seeing in my head Peanut from Jeff
Mhm.
Dunham, and going FFA, fa. We started making like jokes, and like we were kind of like livening up the show by going, yeah, and if ever you're getting down, just remember, you can be a card carrying member of fa. So yeah, I try to bring out my fun side as much as I can.
Go silly. I totally think like God has a sense of humor. That's the other thing. God has a sense of humor, and 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 loves you like dogs love you.
Yeah.
They, unconditionally adore you. So enjoy and feel beloved. Don't don't forget that you are divinely connected to source, and that never goes away. And you can channel more in on the days that you need it.
Thank you. And that's the best way to end this. And so, with that, I think we're going to say good afternoon and switch out to the outro. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you on the rest of the episodes that I have this week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So, bye bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.